Hello, I'm Elaine Petrocelli, and it's my honor to be the president of Book Passage and to be celebrating our 49th year as an independent, fiercely independent bookstore. And I understand that bookstores in our area have now certified who is an independent and who is not to avoid the big people who buy little stores up and pretend they're little stores. So please be sure that you're dealing with an independent wherever you are in the world. And thank you all over the world who are with us today. And if any of your friends have missed it or you want to see it again, we will have it available so you'll be able to watch the video. Thanks to our wonderful video team. We have a lot to talk about, but we want to do it all in an hour, so we're going to move really fast. I am going to ask Zach Dubuque to come first. Zach he has his title like manager of logistics, but he does everything in the store from taking off your internet tickets to managing events to hosting. I could list it, but it'd be a long, boring list. But he's not boring. We're going to go out of order because Zach is the head of the streaming today. So we're not going to, we don't want to have him jumping up and down. So, Zach, will you start with your fabulous books?
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm going to do just a few nonfiction books. We're going to start with sports, and it is basketball season, so we're going to start with this is actually my favorite book of all of them today. This is Expensive Basketball by Shea Serrano. A lot of sports today are obsessed with statistics and metrics and analytics and numbers and math and how to be the best possible thing statistically in every sport, and this is the opposite of that. This is about how basketball makes you feel. One thing he describes that I love is when you watch Ray Allen shoot a basketball, it's like poetry in motion. And when you watch Joakim Noah shoot a basketball, it's like he's holding a beehive that he has to get rid of as fast as possible. So it's all about sort of things like that you can't really judge how something looks, but you can judge how it makes you feel. And this is taking a bunch of the most famous moments in basketball history and looking at them not in terms of like how impressive they were statistically, but how impressive they were in terms of the sheer joy and love and amazement that you get from watching them. He's a former teacher and he works and writes for Grantland and The Ringer, formerly Grantland, now The Ringer. And he's a very funny writer. He writes in a way that is very approachable. It's not dense. It's really easy to pick up and put down. It's an essay format with beautiful illustrations in each chapter. And it's a great book for any sort of young person who maybe doesn't like to read or doesn't think they like to read. And they'll find themselves picking it up, laughing at a chapter, and then not being able to put it down. So it's a really great gift book for any sort of young person who loves sports. And it's got a great sense of humor. I can't recommend it enough. And in the same vein of basketball, this is Stephen Curry's Shot Ready. And to Stephen Curry, being shot ready is just putting in the, 10,000 hours of preparation and practice and every sort of level of practice that you need to get to be the sort of best at what you do, whether it's for him basketball, but when you are shot ready, you get to reach that sort of transcendent level of just bliss and joy where you don't even realize what you're doing and you don't have to think about what you're doing because you've put in the preparation to get there. And this book is full of just hundreds of amazing close-up photographs of Stephen Curry on and off the basketball court. And it's full of just his life lessons and philosophy on basketball, life, joy, what the meaning of life is to him. And it's a really, really beautiful book for someone you would not associate with writing. But he's a really fascinating person. He's one of the best probably basketball players of all time, and getting into that person's head and getting to see what success means to a person like that is really fascinating. It's a great coffee table book. This is Shot Ready by Stephen Curry. And lastly, I'm going to pivot to music. This is Wings by Paul McCartney. You get a ton of music biography books written about musicians, but you rarely get a music autobiography book written about the person by the people who lived it. So this is all about Wings, sort of from starting when Paul and Linda McCartney fled to Scotland and sort of started their own album to then forming the band Wings and the sort of 10 years that followed where Wings was in existence. It's got thousands of interviews posted in that they've hand selected. It's a amazing sort of history of a period and place and time. And if this isn't cool enough for you, there are 175 copies in the entire world, only 175 of a rare autographed copy of Wings. It's hand signed by Paul McCartney. It comes with a 24-page full color booklet of artwork from the Wings era. It also has an exclusive blue vinyl to go with it that you can only get with the signed version. And again, there are only 175 of these in the world. We can get it. It is $3,500, but it is the ultimate Paul McCartney book, and I imagine it will be worth way more than that down the line. So if you know someone in your life, or if you yourself are a big Paul McCartney or Beatles fan, this is sort of the ultimate, once in a lifetime opportunity to get something like this. We have a QR code up here you can scan, or you can come up and talk to us afterwards, and we can tell you more about it. But it is probably the coolest thing you will find this year.
Because I know better than to follow Louisa Smith, who is one of the best book presenters in the world and also our head buyer, I'm going to sneak in and go first. So, a couple of things. Culpability. This is an incredible book, but if you belong to the first edition club at Book Passage, where we send you a book every month by somebody who's not yet famous, and you will open it up and you'll say, well, who is that? I don't know who that is. And then you start to read it and you realize this is the most amazing book. I'm so lucky. I have a signed copy of a first edition in my collection. And Bruce Holsinger, who wrote Culpability, is one of our former first edition picks. Right now, Culpability is getting tons and tons of press. But when we chose The Gifted School, no one had heard of it, and then it won all kinds of prizes. So you can invest in a lot of things. The one market I would invest in are first edition books. So Zach's inexpensive book is a great choice, but the first editions, we only charge what that book is for, and then years later it's worth $5,000. So don't get coffee on it. Anyway, I forgot to tell you about the book. The family is in a self-driving car in the near future, when we don't just have Waymo, but you can buy one for yourself. And they are going to on vacation, and the teenage son, who's about to go to college on a scholarship for his great athletic prowess, is in the front seat where the driver would be, were their driver. His father's next to him, and in the back is the mom and his sister, and everybody is looking at their devices when something happens. And the young man swerves the car, and he manages to hit and kill an older couple. And what happens to this family after that is fascinating. But one of the most fascinating things about it is that there is no way you can lie in this car, because AI is there and they know what was happening. They can read the camera and see whether something was coming. And we have people who have AI friends involved here. It is a wonderful story about family, about truth, and about what our new world might be bringing us. Run. One of the great books this year is What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. Ian McEwan has just written so many great books, and here is another one. Atonement is the one that most of us remember best. This is set at least a century from now, and there's this very erudite professor who is doing research on the distant past, which is about 2014. And he is a poetry expert, and there is a poet who was well known in our time and who was a bit of a snob, uh, as is the professor I have here. And he has written in 2014, a dinner party has been gathered of very interesting people for the poet's wife's birthday. And he has been working on this very long, long, long poem that he gives her as a gift. And he reads it at the birthday party. And the poem has been lost. But we have the journals of the people who were at the birthday party. Who was sleeping with whom? Who was unhappy? Who was happy? What did the wife think of the poem? And in that, we see our era from the point of view of someone who's trying to research it many, many years later. Absolutely fascinating. And now I'm going to turn this over to Louisa, who is our head buyer, which means all of the buyers work with Louisa. She came here when she was 11 as a customer with her parents. And we never let her go. She went to college. She got a job at another bookstore, but we got her back. And just incidentally, because she isn't busy enough with her 2 teenage children and her life with her husband, and she's also the editor-in-chief of the great mystery company, Mysterious Press. So here's a woman who knows her stuff.
I can never live up to Elaine's introductions of me, but I try. Um, there's that famous old saying, nobody remembers what you did, they remember how you made them feel. That's a lot about how I choose the books that we talk about for today. I read a number of books. I'm terrible at remembering the plots of almost all of them, embarrassingly so. But there are books that just stay with you because of character usually. And so that's sort of the theme of I went with these books. And there's no better one to show that off with than Tortoise Tale by Kendra Coulter. This is a debut novelist. Another little thing about me is I like to ingest my history through fiction. And this does it beautifully. Something that you probably know about tortoises is they're very long-lived, right? They live a long time. This is the history of America through the eyes of a tortoise living in Southern California over 100 years. So while the tortoise can't communicate with the people around him, he definitely knows them, knows the families, generations of families that take care of him. He can appreciate music, art, eventually movies when they come to be. And he watches what happens with these people that are around him. It's beautiful. It's moving, at times really heartbreaking, the way that great books can be, but they also just make you feel so much love. It's a beautiful, sweet tale, and I really do love it, and I hope that some of you will embrace it as well. Another wonderful, wonderful writer is Gish Jen, and I just fell in love with this new book of hers. Again, that taught me so much about history. Gish really wanted to write a memoir about her mother. She had a difficult relationship with her mother, and she wanted to write that memoir. But she couldn't figure out how to do it until she decided to make it fiction. And this wonderful novel about her mother had a fascinating history. Grew up in a very wealthy family in Shanghai. You watch World War II through her eyes as a child there, a child who did not want to conform, had a complicated relationship with her own mother, and all the things going on around her. She wasn't the number one son, and that was a disappointment because of that. She moved to America right before the Communist Revolution and could never get home again because of it. So then it's her here in America. And she's a difficult but really fierce person and funny. And one of the most wonderful things that Gish does is she has this story as if her mother was telling her the story to her. And as she's telling it, her mother's ghost is standing over her saying, "Bad, bad girl. Don't tell that story." Like, she doesn't want this shared. It is humorous. It is touching. It tells you so much about what happened in that region of the world and the people that came here during that time and what they experienced in America. It is beautiful and moving and very much a mother-daughter story. So I really loved this book by Gish. Nobody skewers academia better than Lily King. Nobody writes about sex better than Lily King. And this book combines both. Three friends meet in college, have a little sort of love affair, and then their lives over the years. They want to be writers. It's a lot of talk about writing, about art, about relationships over time. Heart of the Lover by Lily King is the epitome of the kind of writing. It's just perfect book for her to tell. She's the person you want telling this story about these people as they grow up, people that maybe you have a connection with, but maybe it's changed dramatically. I absolutely love everything that Lily writes. She was a first edition club pick with her book Euphoria, and I just love seeing where she's come from there. Another author who was a first edition club pick, Karan Desai, her book, The Inheritance of Loss, was our first edition club pick. It's been, I want to say 10 years. Am I right on that? 10 years. And took all that time to write this incredible, moving book. It's about two people. It doesn't start here, but it is basically about two people who have a chance encounter on a train. They're both Indian immigrants to America, but they meet on a train in India, and how their lives intersect and their love and everything. But it starts before that, when they're both in America and very lonely and lost and reaching out to their families all the way back in India. It travels all over the world. It goes through decades of time, but it's really a rumination on love, art, family. It is one of the most beautifully layered story of connection and the connections we form, the connections we need, the connections we feel a profound loss around when they aren't there. It's just absolutely beautiful. So this is a real stunner of a book. And then finally, I think the last book I'm going to talk about today, another I did not do this on purpose, but it is a theme. Adam Johnson won The Orphan Master's Son, which was not only a Pulitzer Prize win, but even more exclusive club, a first edition club pick for us here at Book Passage. We love it. And this book is unlike anything. It's for those of you who have been looking for something to read ever since you fell in love with reading The Odyssey in college, except this is the Polynesian version of it. It takes place over 1,000 years ago. It intertwines myth. It talks about these Tongan royal families and the fights between them. It's a quest novel, but they were great sailors and, well, on the boats that they had. I mean, it's wonderful. It's magical. It is a great look of the history of those people as they tell it to themselves. It is about storytelling and the power of storytelling. So it's a beautiful novel to read, many layered, little bit intense, but a classic, all sort of fully born all at once. And now I actually have the great pleasure to introduce one of the people I turn to talk about books, because she's a wonderful reader and one of my favorite booksellers here, and that is Allison. Allison, can you come up and talk about your fiction picks?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. So this is one of my favorite times of year because we get people coming to ask us what books we loved for the year. So I tend to be mostly fiction, historical fiction, literate fiction. I love mysteries as well. But since I work in a bookstore, I am happy to recommend anything. And so I'm going to talk about a couple different things. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that we have this incredible program. If you haven't seen it before, this is the Giving Tree. And our Giving Tree provides books for people all over Marin County, young kids who might not ordinarily get a book as a Christmas gift, Hanukkah gift, just any holiday. These kids often, when we give them a book, it's the first book that they own. So it is an incredible program. And I've been part of it since my kids were little, 27, 30 years ago. We used to come in and they'd pick a gift tag off the tree. They pick a book and they remember that fondly. And we do that every year. And now that I've been working here for 10 years, I love it. It's part of the culture, I feel like, of what we do here. So the Giving Trees are at the registers in both stores. And so please pick a tag and pick a book. Thanks for supporting it. Okay. So I'm just going to briefly talk about two of my favorite books that I've read recently. This one is called Wreck, and it is by Catherine Newman, and it does follow her last book called Sandwich, which I read and loved. Her book, this book called We All Want Impossible Things, was a first edition club. And she's one of those authors that when you read one of her books, you want to read everything. She's just so delightful. I was reading Wreck and I felt like I wanted to turn every page and highlight everything she said because I could relate to it. It's basically a story about a woman who she finds out that she has an illness, but that isn't the focus of it. The focus of it is her family and the people in her life and her relationship with that and her relationship with herself. It's fiction, but you feel almost like you're reading a memoir. It's beautiful. You cry, you laugh, you relate to it. I highly recommend that if you're going to get this as a gift, pick up Sandwich and Wreck together. This is another first edition book. And the reason we have so many books that we love that are first editions is because we're really good at picking them. This one is called Buckeye. It's by Patrick Ryan. And I picked this up and I started reading it and I thought, this is one of those books that is like perfect for winter. You want to cozy up. You want to know these people. It's a story about two characters, starts in before World War II, basically. And it traces their lives and what affects them. And it's ordinary people. It's a story about ordinary people, how their lives intersect and how they get through the daily things that come up, including dealing with post-war America. And it's a very character-driven novel. And so if you love getting into characters, this is one of those books where you like every character. They're all flawed, but same as we are. So I highly recommend Buckeye.
Allison will be back. You can see why we love her so much. I have one more fiction book I want to tell you about. We're big on clubs here, as you might have figured out, and we have the first edition club. And by the way, we pick these books before the Pulitzer Prize or Oprah or whatever picks them. We pick them when nobody thought about them. So Louisa and her committee, I can't believe their taste. It's amazing. We also have one called Aunt Lydia's Book Club, which I don't know how many of you know about it, but this is one where you just make your own book club. And you say, I have a friend who likes mystery. She doesn't want anything where a child gets hurt. Okay, we know that. We have that written down in a binder. Nothing is on computer. We don't keep anybody's private information. My husband wrote a book on privacy in 1980, and our privacy policy is very simple. We don't sell, lend, or chop up your name or anything you do. We as our customer, we'll tell you what we're doing, and maybe somebody we're hosting, but we are not going to share your stuff. But Aunt Lydia, we have a children's Aunt Lydia and an adult Aunt Lydia, and each of them keep track of this list what they've read, what they liked. Often I see our Aunt Lydia on the phone talking to a 10-year-old customer about he wants her to know that he was into soccer last year, but now he's doing baseball. Okay. These are very important things. Or, sometimes someone will call and say, I really love mysteries, but I heard there's this great novel. Will you send me that? So it's a very personal club, and somehow or other they keep track of hundreds of people, some who start when someone gives them a baby gift. And then we have a new club, and this is the Romance Society. And every month we pick a romance book or a romanticy book. I never knew what romanticy was until recently. And this month is, I'll tell you about, but it comes to the people with this beautiful wrapping. So it's very romantic, and every month the wrapping's different. So it's a hand-done thing by Vanessa. And this month, it's Julia's song is Undateable. And I am giving this to my 20-year-old granddaughter because Julia is not interested in dating. But her grandmother, as she's getting close to the end of her life, says, there's only one thing I ask of you, find someone to marry. So she decides, okay, I'm going to try. And she gets her best friend who knows how to date, and she is going to fix her up with 3 different people. It's hysterical. So even though I am such a snob, I thought, why would I read this book? I loved it. Give yourself a treat. Our next section is mysteries, and I have a couple that I want to talk about. Michael Connelly, everything Michael Connelly writes is fabulous, but I have to tell you, I have a crush on the Lincoln Lawyer. And Bill knows that. And so he reads these too so that we can talk about it, but also because he loves the Lincoln Lawyer too. The Lincoln Lawyer used to do criminal work and run around in his fancy Lincoln, and that was his office. He's gone into civil work, which he told us about in the last book, and he is representing a family whose daughter was killed because an AI pal encouraged a boy to get rid of her and said, I am all you need. And it is the most fascinating trial because who is the culprit? Is it the AI? Is it the company? Oh, the company says it couldn't be them. There is bribery, there is sex, but mainly there's just a fabulous story. So don't miss the Lincoln Lawyer with the Proving Ground. Fabulous. Elizabeth George is a true friend of the store, and we are so lucky she has been coming to our mystery conference off and on over all the years. And this year she's planning to come again, and it's in July. And whether you're writing a mystery or you just love to know how mysteries work, you need to come. Give it to someone for Christmas. A slowly dying cause is all of her books are in Great Britain. There is a company that is buying up land for some kind of thing they say will be ecologically perfect and will allow them to make batteries and find what they need to make batteries right there in Great Britain. And there is one man who says, no, I'm not selling you my land. And of course, he ends up dead. That's only the beginning. When Lindley gets involved, and poor Lindley, he thought he didn't have to do anything this month, but he gets totally involved in this. As usual in an Elizabeth George book, you get to know these people so well, you know which drawer they keep their underwear in. It is really a place where you can just enjoy being with these people. And now I'm going to turn this over to Jonathan Spencer. Jonathan is the assistant manager of this store. But that's just one thing. He's an actor. He's a musician. He's fantastic. We hired him once even though he told us in the interview, I can't ever be here at Christmas because I run the play and musical that they do at the Awani. And it was a really good decision because COVID came, so we had him anyway for a few years. But I need to tell you, the Awani is back, and so he will be here for a while. But then he's going to tell you about a couple mysteries.
Hi, everybody. So I just want to tell you today about a couple mysteries from genre writers who have been writing for a long time. So I'm going to start with Charles Todd. Charles Todd, A Christmas Witness. This is an Inspector Ian Rutledge novella. It's a short form for Christmas only. As you may know, Charles Todd is the pen name of a mother-son duo. Unfortunately, the mother in the duo has sadly passed, and so the son is continuing writing. So this is set in 1921, and it's Inspector Ian Rutledge has drawn the short straw, and he's working Christmas, and it's just after the Great War, and he's kind of just kind of settling in, and he gets a call to go out to a Kentish location to deal with the recovery of a recently assaulted lord who was struck by a horse's hoof, and somebody didn't stop. It's the ultimate hit and run mystery. It's with a horse, which is something unusual. But the complication is that this lord was a colonel in the war, in the Great War. Rutledge was a soldier in the Great War. And so there's complications over those decision makers who cause suffering from afar. So there's tension between the two. It's a wonderful atmospheric little Christmas story, as well as being a great mystery. And also it has that frisson of tragedy going through it as well. I would classify it as almost a Dickensian homage, a little bit of a Christmas Carol. So if you're looking for a short read, a good stocking stuffer, Charles Todd, A Christmas Witness. Louise Penny, an amazing writer, obviously, and a great friend of our store. I'm going to start with a little bit of story about that. Elaine likes to say that, we invite her to be at our mystery conference, but she won't cross the border right now from Canada into the United States. But she will send her goodwill through an online class, which she has done with us for our Mystery Writers Conference. And she is indeed a great friend of Book Passage. This is The Black Wolf. This is a sequel to The Gray Wolf, which was out last year. It is the 20th in the Armand Gamache series. And it's been 20 years since she wrote her first book, Still Life, which I'll talk about in a second. But this is following the events of The Gray Wolf, which, as you may remember, had to do with a terrorist plot in Montreal. They're licking their wounds. Gamache was wounded in the course of that mystery and solving it, and so now he's sitting there healing, and he suddenly realizes, what if the plot did not end there? What if it was just a great distraction? And what am I going to do about it? So from the town of Three Pines, where all his wonderful characters surround him from Louise Penny's great mind, he's going to solve that with his team. And he wonders if it even stretches into the heights of industry, government, and who knows what else. A great sequel. It is a sequel of a sequel because Beautiful Mystery was the first one it was based on. Into the Gray Wolf, Into the Black Wolf. I cannot recommend Louise Penny highly enough. Speaking of Louise Penny, as I mentioned, it has been 20 years since Still Life came out. So we have a wonderful 20th anniversary edition of Still Life, the wonderful book that launched the Inspector Armand Gamache series. It is just gorgeous. Look at that side. It's just a beautiful gift for somebody who loves Louise Penny and who may not have revisited this first edition, the first story, the story of Gamache. I'm going to be speaking about a few other books in a few minutes, but that's my little mystery combination there, and I hope you enjoy them and ask me any question afterwards. And I'm turning it over to Louisa.
I could talk about mysteries all day, but you guys, I'm going to keep it a little bit brief and just touch on two of my favorites that are unique this season. Elaine, you heard about us talking about the Mystery Writers Conference, about people that love to learn how to write mysteries. Well, just for them and for any Lee Child lover out there, we have the Lee Child Reacher, which is a collection of his reminiscence of writing each of his books. The Mysterious Bookshop in New York City, the great Otto Penzler, asked Lee to do this for him as a special thing as each book that he wrote, not the books that he wrote with or his brother Andrew Child wrote, but just the ones that Lee wrote by himself, to do for each book. And they made a special edition of them as those books came out. Now they are all collected together in one volume, plus a new Reacher story in the back. And not only is this wonderful for anybody that wants to learn about how to write mysteries, it's wonderful for anybody who loves the Reacher stories or loves Lee. If you've been to one of our events before, you will know that Lee himself is quite the character. He's about 6'5". He's about 100 pounds. His name is not really Lee Child. That's a pen name. And the way he came up with the name, that he and his wife, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember back when the Le everything was the craze, the Le car, the Le sac, the Le pen, and they would refer to their child as Le Child. And so that is where his pen name comes from. And between jobs, because he, was struggling a little bit, he was working in television and he was having a hard time writing and finding work. But he went to the grocery store with his wife, and people were asking him to get things off the top shelf because he was very tall. And his wife said to him, well, if you don't get a job, you can just come here and be a reacher. And that's where he gets. So you can get an idea from those two little things. He's a lot of fun to talk to. He has a great sense of humor. He's really, really, really smart. And this is a treat. Plus, we're one of the few stores in the country that have signed copies. That's true of the Charles Todd as well. So real treat. My favorite kind of mystery, if I'm allowed to have a favorite kind of mystery, are the ones that sort of cross genres. They sort of strain at what a mystery should be. And this debut mystery, The Glass Eel, does that for me. It is an incredible character-driven novel about where a woman wakes up in the middle of life on the coast of Maine. She hears a boat running. She recognizes her ex-husband's boat and discovers that he's involved in eel smuggling, which turns out to be a big thing in Maine. Who knew? But this is actually a beautifully written mystery. She's a crab picker. She's just, a worker in this community of people that are just scrapping by, and is being changed by big corporations coming in trying to overfish the area. But the two writers, so J.J. Vertel, I'm going to blow it here, their cover. It's actually a father-son duo. The father is a famous dermatologist. Think any big musical on Broadway over the last 40 years. He's been involved. It was Rent, and if I had a good memory, I'd remember other ones. But every single one of those, he's been involved. So he's a great writer, and he knows drama, and he knows character. And his son is a great environmentalist. So there is some of the most beautiful nature writing that I've read this year is in this book. There's a chapter from the point of view of a little crab that's on the shorefront that's just trying to survive. There's a chapter from the point of view of a baby eel trying to find its way back to where it's supposed to go, because they are born in the middle of the Sargasso Sea and they swim all the way out. It is beautiful how he does that. This book is about native land rights. It's about fishery rights. And in the middle of all of this, it's a really propulsive mystery, which is astounding. So I really highly recommend The Glass Eel, and please keep an eye out for them. But there's a reason why Emma Thompson blurbed the book, and Michael Pollan is a big fan of one of the writers. That's why you see this big, wide, diverse group of people supporting it. And then I'm going to talk about the one and only horror book on the list. I don't actually read a lot of horror. I'm a big old scaredy pants. But Joe Hill is such a beautiful writer that I actually can stomach it, because it is about the characters. And this is, people here know, I see this and I run. Generally, I'm much more the rec size book. I get excited about 250 pages. I could do that. But Joe Hill is a beautiful writer. He's the son of Stephen King. So he knows how to do horror. And this book, it starts with 5 kids in college making terrible choices. And those choices haunting them through the rest of their lives. They're drunk, they're scared, and as you do in college, they summon a dragon to take care of their problems. Unbeknownst to them, this dragon's now going to be haunting them for the rest of their lives, and they have to contend with it. It is huge, but let me tell you, it is It's as if you wanted to stream an entire series on Netflix over the weekend. It is like, you know how many fantasy authors now write trilogies? It's as if they put all of them in one book. So you have arc after arc after arc of stories, super propulsive. It goes really fast, but really it's about the people it's about the characters, these people you are tied to because of a bad choice early in your life. Some of them, it's corruption of power. Some of them, they're haunted by loss. It is a beautifully written horror novel. And with that, we're actually going to turn over to, are we going to nonfiction now?
I think we're into poetry.
Oh, into poetry. Lucky. And Elaine will start that.
So I'm holding a book you can't buy today, but you can buy it tomorrow. And if you're watching somewhere else in the world, we can ship it today because you won't get it till tomorrow. It's by the great Billy Collins, everybody's favorite poet. And it is, how can you miss? It is called Dog Show. And one customer has already bought 300 copies for giving away this Christmas. We love that customer, but we also love Billy Collins for making that happen. And Cheryl, who you're going to hear from next, is the person who takes care of all of our corporate orders. And Cheryl and I cheer whenever anybody says, oh, everybody on my list is getting this. It is wonderful. I'm going to read you. Well, first I want to show you. The art is just priceless. Anyone who loves a dog is going to love this book. Here's a poem. Dog years. Today, I turned 420 in dog years. So I have decided to take myself for a long walk on the path around the lake. And when I get back home, I will jump on my chest, lick my nose, ears, and eyelids while yelling at myself to get down. I will replenish my bowl with cold water from the tap and then I'll hand myself a biscuit from the jar and accept it gingerly with my teeth. Then I will make 3 circles and I'll lie down under my desk and fall asleep there with my chin resting on my arms. As I type away all morning, I will reach down and then as I type away all morning, I will reach down now and then to stroke my furry, venerable head and to make sure I haven't run away. This is what you're going to get in this treasure. So if you want it tomorrow, let us know and we'll get it for you. Thank you. Cheryl has is now going to tell you about a different poetry book. She sold a lot of them, but not 300 yet.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about my favorite poetry book for the season, How About Now by Kate Baer. And this is a lovely, slim volume with beautiful poems. I do have to say it's female focused. She writes about growing older, about, as your children get older, changes in your relationship with your spouse, and mostly about friendship and just how important friendship is in all of our lives. And we know that, friendship is really the icing on the cake. And I'm going to be purchasing this for all of my girlfriends this holiday season because it's just such a beautiful testament to how much friendship means to all of us. And we do have signed copies. And there's also, I'm just going to add this because it's so funny. There's a few poems about relationships in here, and she's a little bit of a cynic, kind of like me. And one of them goes something like this: "You used to ask me for nudes, but now you just ask me for information for our taxes." So I just love that. I think that's so funny. Okay. Very quickly, this is a gift book, Puzzle Mania by Joe Fagliano. He is the head honcho of the New York Times. He does and creates all of the puzzles that you read in that newspaper. He is the puzzle guru of the United States. This is an incredible book. If you have anyone on your list who loves puzzles, this is the book for them. There's all kinds of the puzzles that we do, crossword puzzles, Wordle, and there's also new puzzles in here that have like never ever been seen before. He's going to be here tomorrow in our store here in Corte Madera at 6 p.m. It's a free event, so if you love puzzles, you can buy this book and you can also come and meet him. All right, thank you.
And you could pick up your Billy Cullen. There you go.
I'm back. I'm going to go really quick. I'm going to talk about cookbooks for 2 seconds. And the irony is that I used to cook, but now my husband cooks and he loves cookbooks. So I'm always searching for great ones. This one, I want to say, is wonderful. 6 Seasons of Pasta by Joshua McFadden. And one of the reasons I want to bring this up is that we had a Cooks with Books. And if you don't know what that is, it's this incredible event where the author comes. He's a cookbook writer. You get a cookbook. It's usually at Enchiladas or A16 in the city, Left Bank. You get a meal from recipes cooked out of it. It is an incredible event. One of my favorite things to work in the store. So I highly recommend that. You could get a gift card for someone and they could purchase the Cooks with Books, the next one that comes up. So I recommend that. Also, Samin Nosrat, Good Things. If you had her first book, you have to have this book too. This is fabulous. She is just amazing. Recipes and rituals to share with people you love. It's on a little Thanksgiving table display. I do the displays in the store besides hosting, and the display has all kinds of great things if you're looking for a great hostess gift or something to give you a little nudge for the holidays and cooking. So check that out. This is one of the best gift books of the season. This is The Look, Michelle Obama. It's classified as a style book, but it is so much more than a style book. For those of you who, like me, miss the Obamas in the White House, you can look through here. You can remember what it was like back then. For me, I like to picture myself at their table having dinner because I had a similar family, daughters the same age. And at the time, they gave us so much hope. And everything she did and does is intentional. And when you look at the dresses in here, the outfit she wears, it's all done with an intention. The designer she picks, what she's trying to say. And there's pictures of parts of the White House that are no longer there. So this is a historical book as well. Highly recommend this.
And then Jonathan. I just want to be sure that you all know about Amy Tan's new backyard book because we all loved the backyard book. And now we have the backyard journal, and it is gorgeous. And for anyone who's journaling at all, this would be a treat. But of course, if they are also interested in birds, even if they don't feel they're experts, this noticing the birds is just part of this whole thing. Here are ideas for journaling. Also, Amy came and we're, I think, one of the few stores where she did this. She has actually signed the books. When we run out of signed books, we will have book plates, but the signed books are pretty precious. And since she lives nearby, when she's not traveling, she comes in and she personalizes if you want a personalized book. So if you buy the Backyard Journal, we have a limited number of these affirmation cards. This one's called Live Deeply in Nature, and it is absolutely beautiful. And we have an event, and Zach, you need to tell me. It is December 5th for the Backyard Journal at a Dominican, and she will be with John Muir Laws. And the two of them together are incredible. We are all going to end up after that in fact, we're telling people to bring their pencils because they are going to show us how easy it is to draw birds. I don't believe it, but I'm going to try. And now Jonathan has one or two books that he just wants to tell you about.
So I'm going to do a little bit of nonfiction here, and I'm going to start with Andrew Ross Sorkin's 1929. This to me is the best history book of the season. When we got it, when it was published a couple weeks ago, we literally ran out in the first 2-3 days and had to order more. It is the one you've been waiting for, to chronicle the 1929 stock crash, from the author of Too Big to Fail about the 2008 financial crisis. So what it really does so beautifully is it tells the stories behind the scenes about all the wonderful characters that were, the dreamers and the fabulous, the people who convinced themselves this time is different. I don't need to listen to the rules and guardrails because I know better. And it's about the ripple effects from the 1929 crash and the chaos and how it shapes our feelings today. It is from one of the best financial writers that we have. It's a great gift for anybody who loves history. I highly recommend it. I couldn't believe that we had this wonderful gift this year, so I'm giving it to about 10 people. And I'm going to talk very briefly. The American Revolution, Ken Burns, Jeffrey C. Ward, companion book. Ever since the National Parks companion book came out, obviously I'm associated with the Iwani occasionally, so I have that opinion. But I think this is the most beautiful coffee table book of the year. I can't show any pages right now because we have to keep moving, but take a look at it. It's fabulous, and thank you.
Okay, me again. I just have a couple nonfiction books, and then I'm going to pivot really quickly to children's for those of you looking to buy gifts. Okay. The first is a memoir from one of my favorite writers, Margaret Atwood. We had the great joy of having an event with Margaret Atwood years ago, and it was held at a school. And the green room was behind the theater where they were putting on some sort of production. There were signs everywhere that said, do not put your costume on the ground, nothing on the ground, nothing on the ground. She thought that was hysterical and insisted that I videotape her dropping her coat on the ground. That's the kind of person she is. She is, if somebody says no, she says, well, watch me. So when somebody told her to write a memoir, she said, no. I don't see why. I don't want. But then it started percolating. This is not really a memoir as much as a kaleidoscope of her life. Her family was very unusual. She grew up in Nova Scotia. She was often living in tents in the woods with her families. They were very involved with nature. She does a lot with newts in here, and a lot of talk about her crazy hair and her lifestyle. But if you also want to know about her journey to becoming a writer, it's absolutely beautiful and it's absolutely hysterical and really compelling. So she is a treat. It's a big book, but it reads very quickly. And then another one that is really dear to my heart is a book called We Survived the Night by Julianne Brave Noisecat. Julianne's father was saved from being incinerated as a baby at a boarding school, a native, one of those Catholic Indian boarding schools. A groundskeeper heard a cat-like sound mewling and discovered a baby that was going to be put in the incinerator. That was Julian's father, who he doesn't know terribly well. He's being brought up mostly by his mother, but his mother reintroduces him to his family on the reservation, and he starts to get to know his father and the stories around his father, who is a coyote-like character. If you know anything about Native myth, Coyote is a trickster. And so he interweaves coyote stories with stories of his father, with stories of his own life. It's beautiful, very meaningful for me. My grandmother was in one of those schools where there are people, they're now doing an investigation. There were multiple people, girls killed. So this is a very important memoir talking about the history, relationship with Native communities, but also talking about the myths and the power of storytelling in these Native communities. And he does a beautiful job. Do you want to talk about the McFall really fast?
Should have been ready. I just wanted to remind you that Patti Smith has a new memoir. Who would have believed that Patti Smith's Just Kids would win every prize? And why not? It was such a great memoir and a story of a time. Now she has gone back to doing a memoir from the perspective of someone who is more mature. And it's fascinating. You don't have to have read the first book to enjoy the second one, but wow. And she signed a limited number of autographed copies, so order those. And I also want to mention The great Michael McFaul, who was the ambassador to Russia during the Obama administration. Mr. Putin does not like Ambassador McFaul at all, and that's scary when Mr. Putin doesn't like you. Professor McFaul teaches at Stanford, and he is a wonderful speaker. I have heard him speak, and he is fabulous. He is coming to to Book Passage in Corte Madera on the 11th of December, and you don't have anything to do in December, so come early, finish your Christmas shopping, get Professor McFaul to sign this book, and you're set. Autocrats versus Democrats says it all. He doesn't mean Democratic Party, he means Democrats with a small d. He really shows not just what's going on in Russia, China, and the U.S., but the whole global look at autocrats. Fabulous book. And now we're moving to kids' books, and we're going to have fun.
The kids' books really are fun. I love that I still have a chance to read them, even though my kids are too big. And I'm apparently, according to them, about 100 years old. So it's embarrassing that I like them as much. But Snow Kids, one of my favorite children's book authors. He did not Jessie Sima. She did Not Quite Narwhal, if any of you read that. And this is about a snow kid. This is a kid made out of snow who originally, you'll see, that's him. They build him and they declare, let's call him Twig. And Twig is very proud of how he looks with his big long arms and his very fancy hat, which blows off as he's playing, and he ends up having to chase it. But as he goes, he discovers he's rolling. He gets a little bit bigger, and maybe he's not quite the same Twig. Is he still Twig as he goes? And he thinks, well, I need to get my hat if I'm still Twig. And he chases it. And then he loses his nose, and somebody ate his nose. Is he still Twig without that fabulous nose? And he goes and goes, thinking, it's okay if I'm not the Twig I was. This is the Twig I'm going to be, and discovers all these other sort of very strange-looking snowmen they've created themselves, changed themselves after they've been abandoned by the kids that built them. And he decides to build himself. It's a really beautiful book about accepting change over time, but it's also a very silly, fun read about being a little snowman playing out in the snow. Absolutely love it. Another one of my favorite authors is Suzanne Lang. She did the Grumpy Monkey series. I feel like humor in children's books, because you're going to have to read them a gazillion times. It really helps for the books to be funny. I can still do Little Fish by heart. And so if you're going to be living with that story for the rest of your life, it better be good, right? Archibald is a dinosaur who loses his hair. Now, all the other dinosaurs have luxurious hair. They spend a lot of time preening. But Archibald started out furry, but grew up to not have any. And he's very disturbed by it. So he keeps trying to find his hair. And he tries to put on a hat. Look, a spinach hat. Doesn't that look adorable? But then he uses a spinach hat to save another creature. He keeps trying to find it. Keeps not being his hair that he discovers until he finally finds his hair. His hair wants to be on his own. He doesn't want to be with him. And Archibald is very sad, but in it, in escaping his own hair, he actually slays a dinosaur that dies of heat exhaustion because he has hair. And so all the other dinosaurs are like, oh, not hair. That's probably a good adaptation for a dinosaur to make. And they all start shaving their hair to be more like him. It's really funny. It's really sweet. There's ups and downs for your child to go through as he tries to find his hair. It's how I like, there's some beautiful dinosaur books we have, gorgeous books. They'll tell you every fact about dinosaurs. Personally, I love learning about Archibald and his non-hair little tush trying to find his own hair. That's the kind of dinosaur story I like. One of the best children's writers of all time, who's won the Caldecott, she's just a gorgeous writer, Sophie Blackall, If We Were All Dogs. This is a book about playing. This is about how do we play. And one child saying to another, what if we were dogs? And they discuss what that would look like. Oh my gosh, I'd be the fluffy dog. It'd be so best. I'd be a big dog. And then finally the little one says, I don't want to be a dog. She wants to be a duck. So these gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous drawings of dogs. That's why I spend most of the time just gazing at them. Absolutely beautiful drawings of all these different kinds of dogs. And then the fun little twist about maybe you don't want to be a dog. And then finally, for the pictures, I'm just going to hold up really fast. This is gorgeous. It's called Origin. For that child that is really interested in the world, this looks at indigenous cultures all around the world and tells them about it. But just look at these pictures. It's a different indigenous area and the story of them for each of them. These are absolutely gorgeous for not only a child that likes, oh my gosh, all of these pictures are so pretty, likes to travel the world, likes to hear about other kids, but also is an artist, right? Because I can imagine just trying to recreate the picture of yourself as a child and what that might look like. Maybe Mount Tam across your forehead, the bay down around your neck. I don't know. But it's beautiful, beautiful book. And then something a little more hands-on, The Wizard's Guide to Magical Experiments. It's 40 science experiments, and these are so much fun. And there's all this ephemera. So they're learning science, but this is really about becoming a wizard. It's really important that your child is equipped to be a wizard. And weighing air is one of the most important tasks that they have on hand. Look how gorgeous this is and how much fun this is. I mean, if I was a kid, because I opened my presents way too fast. Were you that kid? Opened them, and then I had to wait for everybody. So my favorite thing was then to read all the books I got. This would have entertained me all Christmas morning. Then I'm going to move into slightly older books. Sorry. I'm going to just mention, book 2 from Impossible Creatures is out. We talked about Impossible Creatures last year. This is just as much fun, but I'm going to move on to some other stories. Candace, the Universe, and Everything. This is a story of a wormhole in a school locker. A young girl opens up the locker and a bird flies out. And in 1984, a young girl opened that locker and remembers when the bird flew in. In 1948, it is 3 girls connected through time in a wormhole. Their unusual friendship, their, the 1948, their quest with science, magic, relationships, and also that very awkward age, because it's a middle school age girl. I felt when I read this, it reminded me of when I read A Wrinkle in Time, that kind of story, transformative, that took me to another place, but also made me think about science and the world and what a girl could do. Really powerful, wonderful, beautiful writing. Highly recommend. And there's always a dragon book, and there has to be, because dragon books are fabulous, and there should be, and they should all have scales on them. I mean, they call these spreads that they do, and it's so much fun. But this one is different. This one, dragons sort of exist. Some of them have gone a little bit dormant, and they're in the form of humans. And this young girl gets very frustrated one day and lets out this fiery roar and realizes that she's a dragon. So she's going to be sent to this school for dragons, young dragons. And but she can't come into her powers until she does a lot of sort of emotional work on herself, which I think is a really interesting twist on being a dragon. Like, you can't really be fully who you are until you really accept who you are and work on yourself. It's really wonderful, full of magic. I always love books for kids that are set in schools, because it's so much about the relationships of these kids that are living together, and also unbound by parents saying no, which makes for the best kinds of stories. So that's a really wonderful, fun story. Alan Gratz is one of the best not middle-aged writer, that sounds terrible, writer of middle-aged books for our tween era. And Refugee is a book that has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 5 years and follows 3 refugees at different time. A young Jewish boy fleeing World War II who gets on a boat, a Syrian boy, or I believe a boy that's fleeing, 3 refugees, and things that are different about why they're having to leave, and the things that are the same about their experience. He does incredible kind of war stories, but what makes this wonderful is this is the first time it's a graphic novel. So it really comes to life. And you see the things that actually are very similar between these stories. It's a powerful, powerful book. So that's a great one for your kids that are in middle school. And then the only young adult book I'm going to talk about is this wonderful book called The Secret Astronomers. Young girl starts writing a book inside of a old astronomy textbook and starts getting messages back. It has all these wonderful. I just love how this is done. There's pictures, there's arts. Do any of you remember Griffin and Sabine? It reminds me of Griffin and Sabine, but for teens. And actually, I thoroughly enjoyed it as an adult. Like if this ended up in our adult section, I wouldn't have even thought twice. I just would have completely gone along with the ride because it is more than just a story ride. It's a all the senses kind of ride. It's a beautiful book, and anybody could read it from, let's say, 14, I'm going to say, probably through young adults would be what we'd be trying to sell to. But really, if your teen gets it, sneak it away and read it yourself. And I think that's it.
You are so fabulous. Aren't I lucky to work with these people and to have all of you here today, and wherever you are in the world, we really appreciate you. Please, those of us who are here, we'll be helping you one-on-one, do whatever we can. The books are behind us, but also all over in their correct sections. So we'll find them for you, and we'll find everything you need. And if you want your books gift wrapped, the volunteers from 10,000 Degrees are here. They are wrapping and beautifully wrapping, but our used bookstore supports 10,000 Degrees, and they're a wonderful organization that is helping more and more kids all the time who would never maybe have finished high school, let alone gone on to college. And they follow them through the beginning years of their career as well. And some of them end up on the board later. So get your books gift wrapped. And if you are in Albany or Alaska, we can wrap your books here for you. And we do gift wrap at Book Passages free. So please do your shopping because we love having you here. Thank you all so much wherever you are.